Welcome to ZENLIGHT 8, where we don't just talk about living better. We show you how to build a life of unshakable confidence, purpose, and self-respect. Imagine this. You're pouring your heart and soul into relationships, work, or friendships, only to feel overlooked, undervalued, like you're screaming into the void. Sound familiar? Today's video is about breaking free from that cycle, about reclaiming your power and living a life that demands respect without you ever having to beg for it. Drawing from the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and practical self-improvement strategies, we're diving deep into how to stop chasing validation and start owning your worth. This isn't just inspiration. It's a roadmap you can apply right now to transform your life. Stick with me to the end, because by the time we're done, you'll walk away with actionable steps to become the man you were meant to be. Drop a comment below with, "I'm ready to own my path, and let's start this journey together on ZENLIGHT." Picture this. You're standing in a crowded room and it feels like no one sees you. You've spent hours, maybe years, trying to prove yourself. You work harder, you give more, you bend over backward to make others happy, hoping they'll notice your worth. Maybe it's a partner who's grown distant, a boss who overlooks your efforts, or a friend who only calls when they need something. You keep pushing, keep trying, keep hoping, but deep down, there's a gnawing truth. No matter how much you do, some people will never see your value. And that stings. It's a quiet ache that grows louder every time you're ignored, dismissed, or taken for granted. But here's the truth, the kind of truth that can set you free. Your worth isn't tied to their approval. It never was. Your value is not a trophy someone else hands you. It's a fire you carry within, unextinguished by their indifference. This is the first lesson of Stoicism, the ancient philosophy that teaches us to find strength in what we control, our thoughts, our actions, our purpose. And it's the first step to reclaiming your power. Welcome to ZENLIGHT 8, where we're diving into how to stop chasing validation and start living a life that commands respect, starting today. Let's get real for a moment. Think about the last time you felt that sting of being overlooked. Maybe it was a text you sent that went unanswered for days, or a project you poured your soul into that your boss barely acknowledged. Maybe it was a relationship where you kept giving, kept compromising, only to feel like you were running on a treadmill, exhausted but getting nowhere. I've been there. I remember a time when I spent months trying to win over a friend who only showed up when it suited them. I'd rearrange my schedule, drop everything to help, thinking that if I just did more, they'd value me. But they didn't. And the harder I tried, the less they cared. That's when it hit me. Chasing validation is a losing game. The moment you make someone else the judge of your worth, you hand over your power. You let them decide who you are. And no one gets to hold that kind of control over you. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, knew this truth centuries ago. He wrote in his meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What does that mean for you today? It means you stop measuring your worth by how others respond. You stop waiting for their applause, their approval, their validation. Instead, you turn inward. You ask yourself the hard questions. Am I living in a way that I respect? Are my actions aligned with the man I want to be? If the answer is no, then the change starts with you, not them. This isn't about becoming selfish or cold. It's about redirecting your energy toward what you can control. You can't make someone value you, but you can value yourself. You can't force respect, but you can command it through how you live. Let's break it down with a story. Meet Alex, a 28-year-old graphic designer in Chicago. Alex was the guy who always said yes, at work, in friendships, in his relationship. He'd stay late to finish projects his boss dumped on him last minute. He'd drive across town to help a friend move, even when they never returned the favor. In his relationship, he was the one planning dates, sending thoughtful texts, always trying to keep the spark alive. But over time, he noticed a pattern. His boss piled on more work without a thank you. His friends stopped inviting him unless they needed something. His partner grew distant, replying with one-word texts or canceling plans at the last minute. Alex felt invisible. He started doubting himself, wondering if he wasn't good enough. Sound familiar? Here's where Alex turned things around. One day, he read about Stoicism and came across a quote from Epictetus. "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." That was his wake-up call. Alex realized he was chasing validation from people who didn't deserve his energy, so he made a choice. He stopped saying yes to every request at work and started setting boundaries. He stopped texting his partner first and focused on his own hobbies, painting, running, things that made him feel alive. He stopped chasing his flaky friends and started spending time with people who lifted him up. And something incredible happened. His boss started respecting his time. His partner noticed his absence and reached out. His true friends showed up, and the ones who didn't, he let them go. Alex didn't just reclaim his power. He became a man who lived his worth, not someone else's version of it. So how do you apply this right now in your life, in 2025? Start small, but start today. The next time you feel that urge to chase approval, whether it's texting someone who's been ignoring you or overworking to impress a boss, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does this align with the man I'm becoming? If the answer is no, redirect that energy to yourself. Maybe it's signing up for a 5K run to get back in shape, or spending 15 minutes reading a book that challenges your mind, like Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way. Maybe it's saying no to a request that doesn't serve you, without explaining why. These small acts of self-respect build a foundation. They send a signal to the world and to yourself that your time, your energy, your worth are non-negotiable. The Stoics teach us that true freedom comes from focusing on what's in our control. You can't control how others see you, but you can control how you see yourself. And when you see yourself as a man of value, the world starts to catch up. Here's a practical challenge to make this stick. For the next 24 hours, commit to one act that prioritizes your own growth over someone else's approval. Maybe it's skipping a draining social event to work on a personal project. Maybe it's politely declining a request that oversteps your boundaries. Whatever it is, do it for you. And when you do, drop a comment below on ZENLIGHT or Date and share what you did. Say, I chose myself today. Because every time you choose yourself, you're not just building confidence, you're building a life that demands respect. This is just the beginning. We've got more to unpack about how to spot the warning signs of being undervalued, so let's keep going and dive into how to recognize when it's time to protect your worth. Let's paint a picture. You're sitting at your desk, staring at your phone, waiting for a reply that never comes. Or maybe you're at a family gathering and someone makes a backhanded comment about your job, your choices, your life, and everyone laughs, but it cuts deep. Or perhaps you're in a meeting, pouring your heart into a presentation, only to have your ideas brushed off without a second thought. These moments don't just sting, they leave scars. They're the warning signs that you're being taken for granted, that your presence, your effort, your very existence isn't being valued. And the hardest truth? Most of us ignore these signs. We make excuses. We tell ourselves, they're just busy, or maybe I didn't explain it well enough. We cling to the hope that if we just try harder, things will change. But here's the Stoic truth, straight from Seneca. You have power over your own mind, not over others' actions. Recognizing the warning signs isn't about blaming others. It's about taking responsibility for how you let them treat you. On ZENLIGHT 8, we're not here to sugarcoat things. We're here to help you see clearly, act decisively, and protect your worth like a man who knows his value. Think about the last time you felt dismissed. Maybe it was subtle, a friend who always cancels plans at the last minute, leaving you hanging. Maybe it was blatant, a partner who rolls their eyes when you share your dreams, or a coworker who takes credit for your work. These aren't just moments, they're signals. They're your life telling you that something's off, that you're giving more than you're getting back. I remember a guy named Tom, a 32-year-old teacher from Seattle. Tom was the kind of person everyone leaned on. His friends called him when they needed advice, his colleagues dumped extra work on him, and his girlfriend expected him to plan every date, every trip, every moment of their relationship. At first, he felt good about being needed. But over time, he noticed the signs. His friends stopped checking in unless they wanted something. His colleagues never thanked him for staying late. His girlfriend grew cold, barely acknowledging his efforts. Tom felt drained, like he was pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it. He ignored it for months, telling himself he was overreacting. But one night, after another canceled plan, he sat down and asked himself a hard question. Why am I tolerating this? That question changed everything. He started noticing the patterns, the one-sided conversations, the constant excuses, the lack of respect. And once he saw the signs, he couldn't unsee them. The Stoics teach us to face reality head-on, no matter how uncomfortable. Epictetus said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." That's not cynicism, it's clarity. Life will always test you with people who undervalue you, but it's your job to recognize those tests and respond with strength. So what are the warning signs? They're not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's a shift in tone. A friend who used to be warm now sounds distracted when you talk. Sometimes it's a pattern of behavior. A boss who only notices you when something goes wrong. Sometimes it's silence, like a partner who stops asking about your day, or a friend who never initiates plans. And sometimes it's outright disrespect. Someone who belittles your goals, ignores your boundaries, or treats your time like it's disposable. The key is awareness. You can't change what you refuse to see. And the moment you start seeing, you start taking back control. Here's how you apply this in 2025, right now, in your life. Grab a notebook or open a note on your phone. Write down 3 relationships or situations where you feel undervalued. Be honest. Is it a friend who only calls when they need a favor? A coworker who expects you to pick up their slack? A partner who takes but never gives? Next to each one, write down the specific behaviors that make you feel this way. Maybe it's, they cancel plans last minute, or they never ask how I'm doing. This isn't about playing the victim, it's about clarity. Once you see the signs, you have a choice. Keep tolerating them or act. For Tom, that meant having tough conversations. He told his colleagues he couldn't take on extra work without support. He stopped chasing his girlfriend's attention and focused on his own goals, training for a half marathon, writing a book he'd always dreamed of. And his friends? He let the ones who didn't value him fade away. The result? He felt lighter, stronger, more in control. People started respecting him because he respected himself first. Let's make this practical. Over the next week, pay attention to one relationship where you feel overlooked. Watch for the signs: canceled plans, one-sided effort, dismissive comments. Don't react right away. Just observe. Write down what you notice. Then ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does this person or situation align with the life I'm building? If the answer is no, you're ready for the next step. Stepping back, creating space, and letting your absence speak louder than your presence ever could. This isn't about resentment, it's about self-respect. It's about saying, my time is valuable, and I choose who gets it. Drop a comment below on ZENLIGHT 8 and share one warning sign you've noticed in your life. Let's call it out together. Say, I see the signs, and I'm ready to act. Because once you recognize the signs, you're one step closer to living a life that demands respect. Up next, we're diving into the power of stepping back and why it's the strongest move you can make. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a cliff, pouring your energy into someone or something that doesn't give back. You're giving your time, your heart, your effort. But it's like shouting into a canyon. No echo, no response. Now imagine taking a step back, not out of anger or spite, but out of strength. You turn away from that cliff and suddenly the world feels different. You're no longer chasing, you're no longer begging. You're standing tall, redirecting your energy to what truly matters. You. This is the power of stepping back, the Stoic art of reclaiming your worth by letting your absence do the talking. On ZENLIGHT 8, we're diving into why this simple act is one of the most transformative moves you can make. A move that shifts the dynamic, commands respect, and sets you free. Let's set the scene. You're the guy who's always there. You're The first to text, the first to call, the first to show up when someone needs you. At work, you're the one staying late to fix someone else's mistake. In your relationships, you're the one planning, compromising, keeping things together. At first it feels good. You're reliable, dependable, the rock everyone leans on. But over time, something shifts. Your presence becomes expected, like furniture in a room. Always there, rarely noticed. People stop appreciating you because they assume you'll never leave. That's when you need to step back. Not to play games, not to manipulate, but to protect your own value. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them." And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. Stepping back is about wiping out the judgment that your worth depends on others' attention. It's about choosing yourself. Let me tell you about Sarah, a 35-year-old marketing manager from Denver. Sarah was the go-to person in her friend group. She organized every outing, listened to everyone's problems, and was always there to pick up the pieces. But she noticed something. Her friends rarely checked in on her. They'd cancel plans, last minute, show up distracted, or forget to thank her for her efforts. At work, it was the same. She'd take on extra projects, hoping for a promotion, but her boss barely noticed. Sarah felt like she was running on empty. Then she stumbled across a Stoic idea from Epictetus. You become what you give your attention to. She realized she was giving her attention to people who didn't value it, so she decided to experiment. She stopped texting her friends first. She stopped volunteering for extra work unless it aligned with her goals. She focused on herself, taking up yoga, reading philosophy, working on a side hustle. At first she was terrified. What if they didn't notice? What if they didn't care? But something amazing happened. Her absence created a ripple effect. Her friends started reaching out, asking where she'd been. Her boss noticed her focus and offered her a lead role on a new project. By stepping back, Sarah didn't just reclaim her energy, she reclaimed her power. This isn't about disappearing to make others miss you. It's about redirecting your energy to what builds you up. When you step back, you create space for clarity. You give others the chance to feel your absence, to realize what they've been taking for granted. But more importantly, you give yourself the chance to rediscover your own strength. You stop being the guy who's always available and start being the man who chooses where his energy goes. In 2025, this is more crucial than ever. We're bombarded with distractions, texts, emails, social media notifications, all demanding our attention. Stepping back means saying no to that noise. It means turning off your phone for an hour to focus on a workout or a passion project. It means walking away from a one-sided friendship or a draining job and pouring that energy into something that makes you proud. Here's how you can apply this today. Pick one area of your life where you feel overextended. Maybe it's a friend who never reciprocates, a job that demands too much, or a relationship that feels unbalanced. For the next week, step back. Don't text first. Don't volunteer for extra work. Don't chase. Instead, invest that energy in yourself. Sign up for a class, maybe a coding boot camp or a public speaking course. Hit the gym and aim for 10 push-ups more than you did last week. Or just take a walk in a park. No phone, just you and your thoughts. Notice how it feels to prioritize yourself. Notice how others respond when you're not always there. And here's the real magic. By the time they notice your absence, you might not even care. Because when you step back, you're not just creating space. You're building a life that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. Try this challenge. For the next 48 hours, don't initiate contact with someone who's been taking you for granted. Don't text, don't call, don't reach out. Focus on one thing that makes you feel stronger. Maybe it's running a mile, writing a page of your novel, or meditating for 10 minutes. Then come back to ZENLIGHT 8 and drop a comment. I stepped back, and here's what happened. Share your story because you're not alone in this. We're building a community of men who choose their worth over chasing approval. Next, we're going to talk about investing in yourself, how to build a foundation so strong that no one can shake it. Let's keep moving forward. There's a moment in every man's life when he realizes he's been living for others. You've Spent years pouring your time, your energy, your soul into people and places that don't give back. You've stayed late at work, hoping for a nod of approval. You've put your dreams on hold to keep a relationship alive. You've said yes to everyone else's needs while saying no to your own. And then one day, you wake up and look in the mirror, and the question hits you like a freight train. When was the last time I invested in myself? Not the version of me that others want, but the man I know I can be. On ZENLIGHT 8, we're diving into the most powerful act of self-respect, investing in yourself. This isn't about selfishness, it's about survival. It's about building a life so strong, so undeniable, that respect follows you like a shadow. Let's talk about what investing in yourself really means. It's not about buying a fancy car or scrolling through Instagram for hours, chasing dopamine hits. It's about intentional, disciplined choices that make you better, physically, mentally, spiritually. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. Seneca said, "Retire into yourself as much as you can. Associate with people who are likely to improve you." That's the key. You are the sum of what you choose to focus on. Every time you choose to hit the gym instead of the couch, to read a book instead of binge-watching a show, to set a goal and chase it with everything you've got, you're building a version of yourself that no one can ignore. But most men get it backward. They pour their energy into fixing others' problems, chasing approval, or avoiding conflict. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, drained, like they're running in place. Let me tell you about Mike, a 30-year-old accountant from Austin. Mike was the guy everyone counted on. He'd work 60-hour weeks to impress his boss, skip workouts, to help his friends, and put his own goals, like starting a podcast, on the back burner. He told himself he'd get to it someday, but someday never came. He was tired, overweight, and uninspired. One day, he stumbled across a Stoic idea from Marcus Aurelius. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. That hit him hard. Mike realized he was waiting for permission to live the life he wanted, so he made a change. He started small, 20 minutes at the gym 3 times a week. He read 1 chapter of a self-improvement book every night, starting with meditations. He set a goal to launch his podcast within 6 months. He said no to requests that didn't align with his priorities. At first, it felt uncomfortable. His friends complained. His boss raised an eyebrow. But over time, something shifted. Mike lost 20 pounds, felt sharper, more focused. His podcast launched, and it wasn't perfect, but it was his. People started noticing. Not just his work, but his energy, his confidence. By investing in himself, Mike didn't just change his life, he changed how the world saw him. In 2025, investing in yourself is non-negotiable. The world moves fast. AI, remote work, endless notifications competing for your attention. If you don't carve out time for your own growth, you'll get left behind. So how do you start? First, get clear on what matters to you. Not what your parents want, not what your friends expect, but what sets your soul on fire. Maybe it's running a 5K, learning to code, or writing a book. Write it down, make it real. Then, commit to 1 small action every day. If you want to get fit, do 10 push-ups before breakfast. If you want to grow mentally, read 10 pages of a book like Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you want financial freedom, save $5 a day and learn 1 new skill, maybe budgeting or investing each month. These aren't grand gestures, they're bricks in the foundation of the man you're becoming. Here's a challenge to make this real. Pick 1 area of your life, physical, mental, or professional, and commit to 1 small investment in yourself every day for the next week. Maybe it's a 15-minute walk, a podcast episode on Stoicism, or an hour working on a side hustle. Track your progress, write it down, and at the end of the week, come back to ZENLIGHT 8 and drop a comment. I invested in myself, and here's what I did. Share your win, no matter how small, because every step forward is a step toward a stronger you. The Stoics teach us that greatness isn't a single moment, it's a series of choices. When you invest in yourself, you're not just building skills, or strength. You're building a life that commands respect. Next, we're diving into how to set boundaries like a leader, because protecting your worth is just as important as building it. Let's keep going. There's a lie we've all been told. Being a good man means saying yes to everyone. Yes to the friend who needs a favor. Yes to the boss who piles on extra work. Yes to the partner who expects you to carry the emotional load. We're taught that saying no makes you selfish, difficult, unlikable. But here's the truth, the kind that hits like a cold shower. If you don't set boundaries, you're not being kind. You're being weak. You're letting others walk over your time, your energy, your peace of mind. And every time you say yes when you mean no, you're telling the world and yourself that your worth is negotiable. On ZENLIGHT 8, we're rewriting that script. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about protecting what matters most. Your purpose, your growth, your self-respect. It's about leading your life like a man who knows his value. Imagine this. You're at work, and your coworker asks you to cover their shift again. You've got plans, maybe a workout or a night to unwind, but you feel that pressure to say yes. You don't want to seem like a jerk. So you agree, and resentment creeps in. Or picture a friend who constantly vents their problems but never asks about yours. You listen, you support, but deep down, you know it's one-sided. These moments aren't just annoyances, they're tests. They're life asking you, will you protect your worth or will you give it away? The Stoics had a name for this kind of strength, discipline. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Setting boundaries is how you become that master. It's how you decide who gets your time and how much they get. Let me tell you about James, a 29-year-old software engineer from San Francisco. James was the guy everyone loved because he never said no. He'd stay late to help his team debug code, even when it meant missing his evening runs. He'd agree to every social invite even when he was exhausted. In his relationship, he'd drop everything to fix his partner's problems, even when she didn't reciprocate. But over time, James felt like he was losing himself. He was tired, stressed, and resentful. Then he came across a Stoic principle. You have the right to say no to anything that doesn't align with your purpose. That was his turning point. James started setting boundaries. At work, he told his team he could only stay late once a week. With friends, he stopped saying yes to plans that didn't excite him. In his relationship, he had a tough conversation. "I'm here for you, but I need this to be a two-way street." At first, he worried he'd lose people. Some pushed back. A few drifted away. But the ones who stayed, they respected him more. His team valued his time. His partner started showing up for him. By setting boundaries, James didn't just protect his energy. He became a leader in his own life. In 2025, boundaries are more important than ever. We're living in a world that demands your attention 24/7. Emails, texts, social media, work calls. If you don't draw a line, you'll drown. So how do you set boundaries like a leader? First, get clear on your non-negotiables. What behaviors will you not tolerate? Maybe it's disrespect, manipulation, or constant lateness. Write them down. Then, communicate them clearly. Not with anger, but with calm conviction. Try this. The next time someone asks you to overextend yourself, say, "That doesn't work for me right now." No explanation, no apology. If they push, repeat it. Your actions enforce your words. If a friend keeps flaking, stop making plans with them. If a coworker keeps dumping work on you, redirect them to your boss. If a relationship feels one-sided, pull back and focus on yourself. The key is consistency. Boundaries aren't suggestions, they're standards. Here's a challenge to make this real. Pick one situation where you've been saying yes when you want to say no. Maybe it's a friend who always borrows money or a colleague who expects you to cover for them. This week, set a boundary. Say no politely, but firmly. Notice how it feels. Notice how they respond. Then come back to ZENLIGHT and drop a comment. I set a boundary, and here's what happened. Share your story, because every boundary you set is a step toward a life that respects your worth. The Stoics teach us that true leadership starts with leading yourself. When you set boundaries, you're not just saying no to others, you're saying yes to the man you're becoming. Next, we're diving into the absence effect, because sometimes the strongest move you can make is to walk away. Let's keep building. There's a quiet power in walking away, not out of anger or drama, but out of strength. Imagine you've been pouring your heart into someone, a friend, a partner, a colleague, and they barely notice. You're always there, always giving, always showing up. But over time, your presence becomes invisible, like a song playing in the background that no one hears. Now imagine you stop. You stop texting first. You stop bending over backward. You step away, and suddenly, the silence is deafening. That's the absence effect, the Stoic principle of letting your absence speak louder than your presence ever could. On ZENLIGHT, we're diving into why stepping away isn't just a tactic, it's a transformation. It's how you remind the world and yourself that your time, your energy, your worth are not to be taken for granted. Let's set the stage. You're the guy who's always available. You answer every call, reply to every text, show up for every favor. But what happens when you're too available? People stop valuing you. It's human nature. We don't appreciate what's always there. Air, water, the sunrise. The same goes for you. When you're predictable, people assume you'll never leave. They take you for granted because they don't fear losing you. But when you step away, you break that illusion. You create a void, and in that void, they're forced to confront what life is like without you. The Stoics understood this. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When you're always there, people imagine you'll never leave. Your absence forces them to face reality. Let me tell you about David, a 33-year-old carpenter from Portland. David was the rock of his friend group. He'd drop everything to help a buddy move, fix a car, or listen to their problems. In his relationship, he was the one keeping things together, planning dates, checking in, always the first to apologize. But he noticed a pattern. His friends stopped thanking him. His girlfriend started taking him for granted, barely acknowledging his efforts. He felt like a doormat. Then he read about Stoicism and came across a quote from Epictetus. "What need is there to chase what does not want you?" David decided to try something new. He stopped texting his friends first. He stopped planning every date. He focused on himself, building furniture, training for a 10K, reading philosophy. At first he was nervous. Would they even notice? But they did. His friends started reaching out, asking why he'd been so quiet. His girlfriend planned a date for the first time in months. Some people didn't come back, and that was okay. David realized they weren't worth his energy. By stepping away, he didn't just regain respect, he regained himself. In 2025, the absence effect is a superpower. We're surrounded by noise, social media, instant messages, endless demands on our time. When you step back, you cut through the noise. You show the world that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. So how do you do it? Start by identifying one relationship or situation where you're overextending yourself. Maybe it's a friend who only calls when they need something, or a job that expects you to be on call 24/7. For the next week, pull back. Don't initiate contact. Don't volunteer your time. Focus on something that builds you up. Maybe a new skill, like learning guitar, or a physical challenge, like running 3 miles. Let your absence create space. Let it force others to step up or step out. And here's the best part. When you step back, you're not just teaching others to value you, you're teaching yourself. You're reminding yourself that your worth doesn't depend on their attention. Here's a challenge to make this stick. For the next 72 hours, stop reaching out to one person who's been taking you for granted. Don't text, don't call, don't check in. Instead, use that energy to do something for you. Maybe journal about your goals, hit the gym, or start a side project. Then come back to ZENLIGHT and drop a comment. I use the absence effect, and here's what I learned. Share your story, because every time you step back, you're stepping closer to the man you're meant to be. The Stoics teach us that true power lies in what we control. Your absence is your voice. Use it. Next, we're diving into unshakable confidence, because when you know your worth, the world can't help but follow. Let's keep going. Confidence. It's the word every man chases, but so few truly understand. Society sells you a lie. Confidence is loud, flashy, the guy who walks into a room and owns it with a big smile and a bigger ego. But real confidence, it's quiet, it's calm, it's the man who knows his worth so deeply that he doesn't need to prove it. It's the man who walks through life unshaken, not because he has everything, but because he knows he's enough. On ZENLIGHT 8, we're peeling back the layers of what confidence really means, drawing from the Stoic wisdom of men like Marcus Aurelius, who said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is about building a confidence that no one can take away, a confidence that transforms how you live and how the world sees you. Let's break it down. Picture a guy named Chris, a 31-year-old teacher from Boston. Chris was good at his job, but he always felt like he was playing catch-up. At work, he'd second-guess his lessons, worried his students or colleagues wouldn't respect him. In his social life, he'd overthink every conversation, replaying what he said, wondering if he sounded stupid. In his dating life, he'd try too hard to impress, always feeling like he had to perform. He thought confidence was about having the perfect job, the perfect body, the perfect words. But no matter how much he achieved, it never felt like enough. Then he stumbled across Stoicism, specifically a line from Epictetus. "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Chris realized his lack of confidence wasn't about his job, his looks, or his words. It was about his mindset. He was letting external things define him. So he started small. He made a promise to himself. Every day he'd do one thing that scared him. He spoke up in a staff meeting, even though his voice shook. He asked a woman out, even though he feared rejection. He started running, even though he could barely finish a mile. Each small act built a brick in his foundation. 6 months later, Chris wasn't just a better teacher or a fitter guy. He was a man who walked into a room with quiet assurance, not because he had it all, but because he knew he was enough. In 2025, unshakable confidence is your greatest asset. The world is chaotic. Economic shifts, social pressures, endless comparison on social media. If you tie your confidence to external things, a promotion, a relationship, a bank account, you're building on sand. True confidence comes from within, from keeping promises to yourself. It's not about what you have, it's about what you do. So how do you build it? Start with action. Make a commitment to yourself and keep it, no matter how small. Maybe it's waking up at 6 a.m. to meditate for 10 minutes. Maybe it's hitting the gym 3 times a week, even if you start with just 10 push-ups. Maybe it's saying no to a request that doesn't serve you. Every time you follow through, you're telling yourself, "I can trust me." And that trust is the root of confidence. The Stoics teach us that confidence isn't a feeling, it's a habit. It's forged in the small, daily choices that prove you're a man of your word. Here's a practical way to start. Pick one promise to yourself this week. Maybe it's to run a mile without stopping, read 20 pages of a book like The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, or speak up in a meeting without overthinking. Write it down, track it, and when you keep that promise, notice how it feels. That's confidence, taking root. Then come back to ZENLIGHT 8 and drop a comment. I kept a promise to myself, and here's what it was. Share your win, because every promise you keep is a step toward a life that commands respect. Confidence isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the man who knows his worth, no matter who's watching. Next, we're diving into why you need to stop over-explaining yourself, because a man who knows his value lets his actions speak. Let's keep moving. Have you ever said no to something, a favor, an invite, a request, and felt the urge to justify it? You start rambling, giving reasons, trying to soften the blow, worried the other person will think you're a jerk. Maybe you've spent 10 Minutes explaining why you can't cover a coworker's shift or why you're not free for a last-minute plan. And in that moment, something shifts. The more you explain, the less they respect you. Why? Because over-explaining screams insecurity. It says, "I'm not sure my decision is valid unless you approve." On ZENLIGHT 8, we're breaking that habit. Drawing from the Stoic wisdom of Epictetus, who said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." We're diving into why a man who knows his worth lets his actions speak, not his excuses. This is about reclaiming your voice by embracing the power of silence. Let's paint a picture. Imagine you're at work and your boss asks you to take on a project that's way outside your role. You're already swamped, but you feel that pressure to say yes. So you say, "I'm sorry, I can't right now." And before you know it, you're launching into a 5-minute explanation about your workload, your schedule, your stress. Your boss nods, but you can tell they're not listening. Worse, you feel smaller, like you had to justify your existence. Now imagine a different scenario. You say, "That doesn't work for me right now," and stop. No explanation, no apology. You hold your ground, calm and firm. Your boss pauses, nods, and moves on. Suddenly, you're not just another employee. You're a man who respects his own time. That's the difference. Over-explaining hands your power to someone else. Silence keeps it where it belongs, with you. Let me tell you about Ryan, a 27-year-old bartender from Miami. Ryan was a people pleaser. When his friends asked for favors, borrowing money, crashing at his place, he'd say yes, even when it stretched him thin. And when he said no, he'd over-explain, worried they'd think he was selfish. At work, he'd justify every decision to his manager, from taking a day off to turning down a double shift. He thought explaining made him seem reasonable, but it backfired. His friends took advantage of him. His manager saw him as unsure. One day, Ryan read a Stoic quote from Seneca, "You must say what you think and think what you say." He realized he was diluting his own voice, so he tried an experiment. The next time a friend asked to borrow $50, Ryan said, "I can't help with that right now." No explanation. When his manager asked him to cover a shift on his day off, he said, "That doesn't work for me." Period. At first, he felt awkward, like he was being rude, but then he noticed something. His friends stopped pushing. His manager started respecting his time. By saying less, Ryan said more. In 2025, over-explaining is a trap. We're conditioned to justify ourselves on social media, in meetings, in relationships. But every time you over-explain, you're giving away a piece of your confidence. So how do you break the habit? Practice the art of restraint. The next time you say no, keep it simple. "That doesn't work for me." If they ask why, repeat it. Don't elaborate. Don't apologize. Your decision is enough. This isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. It's about saying, "My time is valuable, and I don't need to justify it." Start small. Maybe it's declining a last-minute invite or saying no to a favor that doesn't feel right. Notice how it feels to hold your ground. Notice how others respond when you don't bend. Here's a challenge to make this real. For the next 3 days, catch yourself when you're about to over-explain. Whether it's at work, with friends, or in a relationship, say no and stop. No. Reasons, no excuses. Then come back to ZENLIGHT and drop a comment. "I stopped over-explaining, and here's how it felt." Share your story, because every time you hold your ground, you're building a life that commands respect. The Stoics teach us that true strength lies in simplicity. When you stop over-explaining, you start embodying your worth. Next, we're diving into cutting the dead weight. Because you can't rise if you're carrying people who pull you down. Let's keep going. Life is a climb. Every day, you're scaling a mountain toward the man you want to be. But imagine you're carrying a backpack stuffed with heavy rocks, people, habits, situations that drag you down. Every step feels harder, every breath more labored. You're strong, but even the strongest man can't climb forever with dead weight on his back. On ZENLIGHT, we're talking about the courage it takes to let go, not just of toxic people, but of anything that holds you back from your potential. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, knew this truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Cutting the dead weight isn't about cruelty or anger. It's about choosing yourself. It's about clearing the path to a life that reflects your worth. Let's get real. We all have people in our lives who take more than they give. The friend who only calls when they need a favor. The coworker who undermines you to look good. The relationship that drains your energy instead of lifting you up. Deep down, you know who they are. You feel it every time they cross a line, every time you bite your tongue to keep the peace. But here's the hard truth. Every moment you spend on someone who doesn't value you is a moment stolen from your growth. I remember a guy named Ethan, a 34-year-old mechanic from Atlanta. Ethan was loyal to a fault. His childhood friend, Mark, was always in crisis, borrowing money, crashing at Ethan's place, never showing up when Ethan needed him. At work, Ethan's coworker took credit for his ideas, leaving him feeling invisible. In his relationship, his partner dismissed his dreams of starting a business, calling them unrealistic. Ethan kept holding on, thinking loyalty meant sticking it out. But he was exhausted. Then he read a Stoic quote from Seneca: "Associate only with those who uplift you." Ethan realized he was carrying dead weight. So he made a choice. He stopped, lending Mark money and set clear boundaries. He spoke up at work, calling out his coworker in a calm but firm way. He had an honest talk with his partner. "I need someone who believes in me." Some people stepped up, others didn't. But Ethan felt lighter, like he could finally breathe. In 2025, cutting the dead weight is essential. The world is too fast, too demanding to carry people who don't carry you back. So how do you do it? Start by identifying the dead weight in your life. Grab a notebook and write down 3 people or situations that drain you. Maybe it's a friend who's always negative, a job that stifles your growth, or a relationship that feels one-sided. Next to each, write down how they make you feel: angry, invisible, exhausted. Then set a boundary. Maybe it's telling that friend, "I can't keep having these conversations." Maybe it's looking for a new job that aligns with your goals. Maybe it's walking away from a relationship that doesn't respect you. The key is action. You don't need to be harsh or dramatic, just clear. And if they don't respect your boundaries, let them go. It's not about burning bridges. It's about building a life that serves you. Here's a challenge to make this real. This week, identify one piece of dead weight in your life. It could be a person, a habit, or a situation. Take one step to let it go. Maybe it's a conversation, a polite no, or a decision to walk away. Then come back to ZENLIGHT 8 and drop a comment. "I cut the dead weight, and here's what I did." Share your story, because every time you let go, you make room for people who lift you up. The Stoics teach us that life is too short to waste on what doesn't serve us. When you cut the dead weight, you're not just freeing yourself, you're claiming the life you deserve. Next, we're diving into reclaiming your focus, because where your attention goes, your life follows. Let's keep moving. Your attention is your most precious resource. It's the fuel that drives your growth, your success, your life. But in 2025, the world is a battlefield for your focus. Notifications ping every 5 seconds. Social media pulls you into endless scrolls. People, friends, co-workers, even strangers, demand your time like it's theirs to take. And when you give it away, when you let your focus scatter on things that don't matter, you're not just losing time, you're losing yourself. On ZENLIGHT, we're diving into the Stoic art of reclaiming your focus, inspired by Marcus Aurelius, who said, "Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness." This is about taking back control of your mind and building a life that reflects your highest priorities. Let's paint a picture. You're lying in bed at night, replaying a conversation from earlier. Maybe it was a friend who brushed you off, a boss who dismissed your idea, or a partner who didn't listen. You're turning it over in your mind, wondering what you could have said differently. Hours slip by, and you're still stuck there, giving your energy to something you can't change. Or maybe you're scrolling through Instagram, comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel. These moments aren't just distractions, they're theft. They're stealing your focus from what could move you forward. I remember a guy named Lucas, a 28-year-old graphic designer from Los Angeles. Lucas was talented, but he felt stuck. He'd spend hours worrying about what his co-workers thought of his designs. He'd check his phone every 10 minutes, hoping for a text from a friend who rarely replied. He'd stay up late scrolling social media, feeling worse about himself with every post. Then he came across a Stoic idea from Epictetus. You become what you give your attention to. Lucas realized he was giving his focus to things that drained him, so he made a change. He set a timer for 25 minutes each morning to work on his portfolio, phone off. He stopped chasing his flaky friend and started meeting new people who inspired him. He replaced late-night scrolling with reading books like Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Within months, Lucas landed a better job, felt more energized, and started a side hustle that lit him up. By reclaiming his focus, he reclaimed his life. In 2025, your focus is under attack. The average American checks their phone 144 times a day, losing hours to distractions. If you want to stand out, you have to guard your attention like a treasure. So, how do you do it? Start by getting clear on your priorities. What are the 3 things that matter most to you right now? Maybe it's your health, your career, your personal growth. Write them down. Then audit your time. For one day, track how you spend every hour. How much goes to social media, to people who don't value you, to things that don't move you forward. Be honest. Then make a commitment. Cut one distraction. Maybe it's turning off notifications for an hour each morning. Maybe it's saying no to a draining conversation. Maybe it's uninstalling an app that sucks you in. Replace that time with something that builds you. Maybe a 20-minute workout, a chapter of a book, or a step toward a goal, like saving $100 for a new course. The Stoics teach us that focus isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. Here's a challenge to make this real. For the next 24 hours, pick one distraction to eliminate. Maybe it's checking your phone during meals or saying yes to a request that doesn't serve you. Replace that time with one action that aligns with your priorities. Maybe a 15-minute meditation, a walk to clear your mind, or working on a project you've been putting off. Then come back to ZENLIGHT 8 and drop a comment. I reclaimed my focus, and here's how. Share your story, because every moment you take back is a moment you're building a stronger you. When you focus on what matters, you're not just managing your time, you're shaping your life. Next, we're diving into the art of subtle detachment, because true freedom comes when you let go of what you can't control. Let's keep moving. There's a freedom most men never taste. It's not the freedom of wealth or fame or even success. It's the freedom of letting go, of outcomes, of other people's opinions, of the need to control what you can't. This is the Stoic art of subtle detachment, the ability to give your best to every moment without letting your happiness depend on the result. On ZENLIGHT, we're diving into why detachment isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being unshakable. It's about living with purpose while staying free from the chains of expectation. As Epictetus said, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. This is how you find peace in a world that's always pulling at you. Picture this. You're in a relationship, and you're constantly worrying about whether they'll stay. You overanalyze every text, every silence, every glance. You're not living in the moment. You're living in fear of losing it. Or maybe you're at work, pouring your heart into a project, but you're obsessed with whether your boss will approve. You're not working for the joy of creating. You're working for validation. This isn't freedom, it's a cage. Subtle detachment is the key that unlocks it. It's about showing up fully, giving your all, but letting go of the outcome. It's about saying, I'll do my best, but I'm not defined by what happens next. Let me tell you about Anna, a 30-year-old writer from New York. Anna used to live for others' approval. She'd submit articles and check her email obsessively, hoping for praise. In her friendships, she'd bend over backward to keep everyone happy, terrified of conflict. But she was miserable, always waiting for the next rejection or disappointment. Then she found Stoicism, specifically a line from Marcus Aurelius. If you are distressed by anything external, The pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Anna started practicing detachment. She wrote for the love of writing, not for the editor's response. She set boundaries with friends, letting go of those who didn't respect her. She gave her best to her relationships, but stopped clinging to their outcomes. The result? She felt lighter, more creative, more alive. Her work improved, her friendships deepened, and she found a peace she'd never known. In 2025, detachment is a lifeline. We're bombarded with pressure to perform, to please, to keep up. Subtle detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care differently. You care about your effort, your growth, your values, not about things you can't control. So how do you practice it? Start by identifying one area where you're clinging too tightly. Maybe it's a relationship where you're afraid to lose someone. Maybe it's a job where you're chasing approval. Take a deep breath and ask, what's in my control? You can control your effort, your honesty, your boundaries. Focus there, then let go of the rest. If you're dating, go on the date, be present, but don't obsess over whether they'll call back. If you're working on a project, do your best, but don't tie your worth to the feedback. Try this. Spend 10 minutes each morning journaling about what you can control today. Maybe it's showing up for a workout, being kind to a stranger, or finishing a task with focus. Let go of the outcome, whether it's a promotion, a thank you, or a text back. Here's a challenge to make this real. For the next 48 hours, practice detachment in one situation. Maybe it's not checking your phone for a reply after texting someone. Maybe it's submitting a piece of work and letting go of the need for praise. Notice how it feels to focus on your effort, not the result. Then come back to ZENLIGHT 08 and drop a comment. I practiced detachment, and here's what I learned. Share your story, because every time you let go, you're stepping into a life of freedom. The Stoics teach us that peace comes from releasing what we can't control. When you master subtle detachment, you're not just living, you're thriving. Next, we're diving into dominating your own path, because the life you want starts with the choices you make. Let's keep going. You were not born to follow someone else's script. You weren't put on this earth to live a life designed by your parents, your boss, or society's expectations. You were born to create, to carve out a path that's yours, defined by your purpose, your values, your vision. But too many men spend their lives chasing someone else's dream. They go to school because it's expected, take a job because it's safe, settle down because it's what you do. And then one day, they wake up in a life that doesn't feel like theirs. On ZENLIGHT 8, we're rewriting that story, drawing from the Stoic wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, who said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." We're diving into how to dominate your own path, not with arrogance, but with unshakable self-respect. This is about taking control of your life and building something you're proud to call yours. Let me tell you about Sam, a 35-year-old salesman from Chicago. Sam followed the playbook. He got a business degree because his parents said it was practical. He took a corporate job because it paid well. He stayed in a relationship because it was comfortable, even though it didn't light him up. But at 35, he felt empty. He was successful on paper, but he wasn't living. Then he stumbled across Stoicism, specifically a line from Seneca. "You have one life. Why do we hesitate to live it as we wish?" Sam took a hard look at his life. He realized he'd been following a path that wasn't his, so he made a bold choice. He started a small woodworking business on the side, something he'd loved since he was a kid. He set boundaries at work, refusing to stay late unless it served his goals. He ended his relationship, choosing to be alone rather than settle. It wasn't easy. His parents questioned him. His friends called him crazy, but Sam kept going. A year later, his business was thriving. He was in the best shape of his life, and he'd found a partner who shared his vision. Sam wasn't just living, he was dominating his path. In 2025, dominating your path is about ownership. It's about taking responsibility for every choice, every moment, every step. So how do you do it? Start with a vision. Close your eyes and picture the man you want to be in 5 years. Maybe he's running his own company, traveling the world, or simply waking up each day with purpose. Write it down. Make it vivid. Where are you? Who's with you? How do you feel? Then reverse engineer it. What's one step you can take today to move toward that vision? Maybe it's signing up for a course to learn a new skill. Maybe it's saving $50 a week toward a dream. Maybe it's saying no to a job that doesn't align with your goals. Next, surround yourself with people who lift you up, mentors, friends, a community that pushes you to be better, and let go of anyone who holds you back. The Stoics teach us that life is short and every choice matters. When you dominate your path, you're not just chasing success, you're creating a legacy. Here's a challenge to make this real. Take 10 minutes today to write down your vision for the man you want to be. Be specific. Then pick one action you can take this week to move toward it. Maybe it's running a mile, starting a blog, or reaching out to a mentor. Do it. Then come back to ZENLIGHT 8 and drop a comment. I'm dominating my path, and here's my first step. Share your story, because every step you take is a declaration of who you are. When you dominate your path, you're not just living, you're building a life that demands respect. This is the final piece of our journey, but it's just the beginning of yours. Let's wrap this up and talk about how to put it all into action. We've walked a long road together, from stopping the chase for validation to dominating your own path. Each step, recognizing the warning signs, stepping back, investing in yourself, setting boundaries, embracing the absence effect, building confidence, stopping over-explaining, cutting dead weight, reclaiming focus, practicing detachment, and owning your path is a brick in the foundation of a life that commands respect. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, remind us that true power lies in what we control: our thoughts, our actions, our choices. You don't need anyone's permission to live a life you're proud of. You don't need their approval to know your worth. You just need to act. Right now, in 2025, the world is moving faster than ever, but you have the power to slow it down, to choose what matters, to build a life that reflects the man you were meant to be. Here's my advice for applying this to your life today. Start small, but start now. Pick one idea from this video. Maybe it's saying no without explaining, stepping back from a draining relationship, or investing 15 minutes a day in yourself. Make it a habit. Track your progress. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, whether it's a friend, a mentor, or this community on ZENLIGHT 8. The world will try to pull you back. Distractions, doubts, people who don't see your value. But every time you choose yourself, you're choosing a life of purpose. You're choosing to be the man who doesn't beg for respect, but commands it through action. This is your moment. If this video hit you, if it woke something up inside you, drop a comment below on ZENLIGHT 8 and say, "I'm done waiting. It's my time." Share one step you're taking to own your worth, whether it's setting a boundary, reclaiming your focus, or dominating your path. Your story matters, and this community is here to lift you up. Don't just watch, act. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the ZENLIGHT movement. We're not just a channel, we're a brotherhood of men who refuse to settle for anything less than greatness. The next video is going to take you even deeper, so stay ready. Let's keep building together.